All right, so our next biomacromolecule are nucleic acids. The one textbook doesn't even cover nucleic acids, so we're just going to do a very, very brief overview of nucleic acids. And of course, if you're interested in more, you can feel free to look at it yourself. So we're talking about nucleic acids. We're talking about DNA and RNA, which, right, are generally described as kind of the blueprint to life. Right, they tell the body what to do, what to build, what kind of proteins to build, and yada, 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 so on and so forth. As I'm sure you have learned or will learn through your biology class, so we're not going to review all that since this is an organic chemistry class. Let's just break it down a little bit. So the DNA / the RNA specifically refers to the polymer version. So we're talking about a whole bunch of nucleotides. Right, those are going to be our monomers. Same how proteins were made out of amino acids. These DNA and RNAs are made out of nucleotides. So there's three major components to the nucleotide. There's a phosphate, which looks something like this. That's then connected to a sugar, a 5-membered sugar. And what this R group depends whether you're talking about DNA or RNA. In DNA, deoxy, right? There's no oxygen, so it's just a hydrogen. In RNA, it does have the oxygen, so it's an alcohol, an OH. And then finally, if this were more than a nucleotide, if this were to continue on, then we would form a bond here, and then the next phosphate would go here, and then you'd continue to build on your sugar. And then finally, we have the base. So this is the DNA base. Just going to draw one of them. You can have 4 or 5 different variations. Right, there it goes. There's the base. In this case, this is thymine. And then obviously we can see the 3 parts of our nucleotide: the phosphate, the sugar, and the base. Here are your different bases. Some of them exist only in DNA. So for example, A, G, C, and T exist only in DNA. And then, or 3 of these exist in DNA, and then thymine, or my bad, 3 of these exist in both DNA and RNA, and then thymine just DNA, and then vice versa. We have U for the RNA. Note that the T and the U aren't very different whatsoever, right? One has a methyl group, the other one doesn't have a methyl group, but overall, they're not that different from one another. Outside of DNA, there are other uses for nucleosides. So for example, this is our ATP. As I'm sure you've learned in biology class, that's kind of the energy carrier of your body, right? Adenosine refers to this one. And then the triphosphate means that you have 3 phosphate groups, right? And then here's just a little pictogram, right, of how you break this ADP to ATP to get energy, right? So in your bio classes, right, you probably learned about ATP and ADP. Hopefully, now that you've immersed yourself in some organic chemistry a little bit, these structures and what they look like are not as foreign, and that'll give you a better understanding of how everything works.